most people's code looks more like a Java code from 2007 than the one made in 2025 because they refuse to use newest Java features and recommended patterns. The whole programming world goes into the direction of immutability. That means that we prioritize using variables and objects that won't change its state after creation. It makes the code more readable, easier to debug, and more pleasant to work with and reason. And Java ecosystem follows this trend. In recent years, we got records, which are immutable classes. But there is one language feature that we have from the start, so Java 1.0, that embodies this programming pattern. And you can already guess from the title of this video that I'm talking about the Java final keyword. So we have our user class with two fields, username and password. We also have a constructor, getters and setters. We want our username to be immutable because we use it as a unique identifier for our user. Everyone watching this video probably knows that we can easily achieve this functionality by adding final keyword next to the username. So I'm going to do that. Okay, as you can see, our code is no longer compiling because we can't reassign the value of our username in methods. Obviously, we can do that in the constructor because that's happening when the object is constructed, but we can't reassign the username, so we delete this part of the code and we are happy. This is like the most obvious use case of the final keyword. There are obviously many more use cases for the Java keyword, and the another obvious one is obviously using it with the final keyword. We can, for example, create private final static, for example, let's say long, and serial version UID. For example, if we're using serialization, we want to have this final field that says what the ID of our serialized class should be. It's another very obvious use case of the final keyword, but we actually can use final keyword, for example, in our method parameters, also in constructor parameters, but I will show you the method parameter. So we, for example, maybe we will do it with the, okay, with password, for example. So final password. And let's try to now reassign the value of this parameter. So password equals password, but to lowercase. And as you can see, we cannot reassign the value of this variable. That is because if we add final next to the method parameter, we say that to compiler that this parameter won't be reassigned through the scope of this method or constructor. We obviously can do the same thing in constructor, so final username, for example, and final password. If I want to, for example, change this password now to lowercase, obviously it won't compile again. This is another use case of the final keyword. For example, I will now create another class that will extend our user. So class super user extends user. Okay. And okay. And I will create a constructor because we have some I added already final here, but that's for the later. Okay, that was the problem. And we will create a matching constructor. And what I wanted to show you is that we can make our methods final, which I already did here. So if we would like, well, I will delete that for now. I want to, for example, override the username and get username. And for example, we will make our username to uppercase. So every letter will be uppercase for our username for the super user. But maybe I don't want our getters to be overridden. I can achieve that by adding final to the username. And as you can see, the code no longer is no longer compiling. So we are sure that our, for example, getters won't be overridden. Next thing we can do is to, as I did before, add final to our user. And now our super user can't even extend the user. So we are sure that no one will extend our class. It's final, and we are happy about that. Okay, so next use case, well, we delete all of that. This finals here. And also final here. Next, let's go to our main class and create a final user, f user, a new user, and I don't know, final 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now this variable is shallowly mutable. That means that we cannot reassign this variable to, for example, new user. New user. I can code when someone's watching sometimes. So user and new and 1, 2, 3. And as you can see, we cannot reassign this value. But what we can do is to, for example, set password to new. There's like nothing stopping us from reassigning the state of fields of this variable. So it's worth to remember that. Next thing you can do, next example I want to show you, is when you, for example, have a lambda or anonymous classes. So I'm gonna create runnable, enable r, and new runnable, and override run. And I will create, for example, here a string task name equals task 1, for example. And I will just print this running task name, okay? And now what happens if we, for example, want to reassign this variable, we get implicit final. So task name equals task2, for example. And right now the code won't compile because variables accessed in the inner classes basically have to be final. So it could be like this, right? And it would work the same. The same is with the lambda. So if I replace this with lambda, we also get the same compilation error here if I don't provide here the final keyword. If you want to learn more about Java and Spring Boot ecosystem, check out the top link in the description and meet other people that are also on this journey in my school community. Here's the next video YouTube thinks you should watch. Until next time, create some amazing applications.